Okay. The exhibition was launched for our 75th anniversary of Magnum. Magnum was formed in 1947. It's still amazing to me that this group of people has evolved and is still somehow glued together in one way or another over generations. But the show itself has evolved in different ways. So it began at the ICP in New York. It traveled to Spain. It's been in Holland. Now it's in Germany. So it's having its own life. It was a big, coming together as individuals who work very differently is an important process. It wasn't curated by someone else. We were in dialogue with each other.
Close Enough is an exhibition of 12 female Magnum photographers. It was initiated by them. And what you see is a very different a range, really, of photographic approaches, of photographic projects, and photographic modes of expression. The exhibition's title is taken from a very famous quote by one of Magnum's co-founders, Robert Capa. And he said, memorably, if your pictures aren't good enough, you aren't close enough. They took this quote, and I think what's really interesting is that they take it rather as a sort of question, as a prompt to ask, what does being close actually mean when one thinks about our relationships as photographers with our subjects? What does it mean to each of them to be close to their subject?
And when we came up with the idea close enough, it was the irony, of course, that Robert Capa always referred to the, your photographs are best if they're, if you're close enough. I've been close enough to the kind of combat that Capa is referring to, this frontline witnessing and direct connection, you might say. I think relationships ultimately are the stronger representation in this show, the kinds of relationships we develop. So it's not so much the physical again, though it might be the kind of commitment you make to knowing, to the extent that we can, another.
The work that I'm showing here, which is about people's relationship with their bodies, is, well, it started initially with myself and my being pregnant. Although it's not a series about myself, I'm not really in it. It kind of triggered an interest for me to go and explore the way other people feel about their bodies, and even beyond that, to look at the ways that we adapt or even use technology to kind of change and enhance our bodies. I started by photographing people, and they're very much just about them and their bodies. But then it becomes this natural extension of what can we do? How do we change our bodies? So I've made work about a trans woman who's in her process, and that's one way that we choose to change our body. But what about if something happens to a part of your body and technology offers you the opportunity to fix it? One of the things that was always really important for me in this work is physicality and this idea of touch and how we relate to each other. And so I was very interested in technology or robotics that create that feeling of connection, like physical connection, not just what does it look like, but can you hold it? So there's this hugging robot, for example, that can give you a physical experience whilst talking to someone remotely. And those, this idea of tactility was always very important to me.
I'm a photographer that if I'm not close to something, I cannot take picture of. And this is just the way I work. And maybe that's why I'm a slow photographer. For me, it takes time to get close, to understand. And before I take picture, I listen a lot. Like my look project, it was 6 months of listening to people, then one day taking their portraits. So, for the sake of calmness, it was a topic where it was very important for me to try to understand it first, and then second, try to visualize it, because it's a very complex topic. It's about premenstrual syndrome, where many women in the world, they are dealing with it. For me, it was really important to, yes, it's a female syndrome, but I wanted also to have these women with her thoughts looking at her country. Because for me, only women talking about women issues, it is very interesting, but I wanted to go beyond that. It was about her gaze upon her own country. And while I was doing that, I suddenly something came to my mind that Iran is a female. The name Iran, it's a female name. And Iran is always on PMS and she never gets her period. So that's how throughout the film, Iran also is talking, yeah.
Ooh, gosh, I love lots of the work, and I love, many of the works in so many different ways. Gosh, what to pick? That's a difficult one to put us on the spot.
I like everybody's work, I like everybody's work. All of them in their own way, in their world, they have amazing, powerful photography. And what is, I think, important about these photographers, that their work is not just work, is their world.
I love so many parts of this exhibition. I love the intensity that Christina de Medill's work brings with the Gentlemen's Club. I love Vika's work, putting herself at risk and her photographs being nearly erased by the Arabic that's across them, not knowing what people are saying and being vulnerable in that way to what does this mean in relation to those who might see the image, opening up that dialogue. I love the rawness of the feeling in Miriam's work. So there are lots of explorations in the exhibition and the expression, the visual expression of the work. Well, Nana is, I think it's important the way she's even portraying, in a long line, these isolated moments. But I think of Nana, right? She's the front line in the sense that she's working in Russia against where everyone else is on the Ukrainian side. She's almost alone on the Russian side. And in this kind of remarkable, steadfast way, not day after day, month to month, year to year, through this war that it continues. And she can't end the work because she's in the history.
Close enough is a great phrase because it's a very confident phrase. It's saying, I know when I'm close enough, and it's about, it's not even necessarily about distance, it's about emotional distance, it's about physical distance, but it's also about being confident to say that I know when I'm close enough. And what it is for me is that sort of strength of saying, like, enough, right? It's like, I'll decide. And that's nice for a women's show. I think that's important.
Close enough, to me, I think it should be something that you feel related or you have empathy with, because sometimes you are close to something, but you don't see it very well. You see it saturated. So I don't think it's defining the space between you and the subject or a topic you want to photograph. It's about how you feel close in your heart.
So close enough is, as you see in the show, also very much about processes, about vulnerability, openness. Sometimes it's even about distance. So the fact that you acknowledge the fact that you maybe come from somewhere else or have a different cultural background, or the position from which you are looking at something also defines how you look at it. This brings you slightly closer, although you're acknowledging distance, to your subject.
So I think we're asking questions about photography. What does the photograph do? What doesn't it do? Can it speak to others beyond oneself? Those who make photographs, those who look at photographs, what brings us closer to others? So I think there are many questions embedded in the project.